the regular meeting of May 1st. Please stand for Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Allen. Here. Broughton.
Here.
Darnall.
Here.
DePalma.
Here.
Cordella.
Here.
Marshall.
Here.
Thurman.
Here. At this time, we need to approve our agenda, and I believe the clerk would like to add an item to new business.
If I could, please add CDBG resolution for the Urban County Qualification Cooperation Agreement. It's every 3 years, and it was received today.
Is everyone all right with adding that on the agenda?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I would like to ask if we can change the recreation report down to discussion, so we can discuss, or if he's here, we can just discuss it then, if we can do that.
He had to run back out to the ball
He's
field.
right
Oh,
there.
they all
He's
blend
right there
together.
on the wall.
What time do you have to go to the ball fields, Fred?
Well, not until about 8 o'clock or so.
Oh, okay. Let's just discuss it during his
During the
report.
okay.
Yeah. Is it about the letter? No? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
We're gonna make this new business out, correct?
Yes. F. CDBG resolution.
Yep.
That's okay?
Yep.
All right. Any other concerns on the agenda this evening? Would someone like to make a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Support.
All right. I have a motion by Treasurer Darnell, seconded by Clerk Allen, to approve the agenda as amended. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. The agenda has been approved unanimously. All right. First on our agenda, we have a service award this evening. So I would like to ask Bob MacArthur to come up to the front. So, just stand here. The Township Board wanted to give some credit to our wonderful volunteers, and the first person for this board that we would like to show our appreciation to is Bob MacArthur. And if you haven't seen Bob MacArthur volunteer for something, you must not be involved in anything, because he pretty much volunteers for almost everything. And I'm just going to go over a long list of what he does currently. He's the Brandon Groveland Youth Assistant Chairperson. He volunteers for the Eastern Stars, number 286. He volunteers for the Masonic Lodge, number 339. He volunteers for Meals on Wheels. He's a volunteer on the Brandon Township Retirement Oversight Committee. He volunteers for the Ortonville Community Historical Society. And he volunteers for Brandon Township Parks and Recreation. And that's just what he's currently doing. What he's done in the past is he's volunteered for the Brandon Township Police Millage Committee, the American Cancer Society Relay for Life Committee, and he's done that for several years. He's volunteered for the Ortonville Area Chamber of Commerce, and he's a past president of that. He's volunteered for the Downtown Development Association, and he's a past president of that organization as well. He's volunteered for the Brandon Schools Marching Band, and he's volunteered for the 150th
Big
Committee. And last but not least, he's volunteered on the Ortonville Lions Club. So this certificate of appreciation is awarded to Robert MacArthur for extraordinary community service and dedication as a Brandon Township volunteer. Thank you for your generous commitment of time, support, and inspiration.
My grandkids think I sit home with nothing to do. Thank you very much. Volunteering for our community is important for everybody, I think, one way or another. I've just been fortunate for where I worked, just got me into everything, and I just, that old saying, just say no, just never worked for me. I invited my whole neighborhood.
Anyone here doesn't have a job and has some free time, see Bob, he'll help you out. In the right direction. All right, next we're going to do reports. We have our monthly treasury report, our general ledger report, our designated report, a fire department quarterly report, a building department report, which shows that we're on pace for last year, same amount of new homes as last year at this point in time, and a recreation report. And the recreation director is here, so we'd like to invite you up. We have some questions. I did want to make one clarification on his report, and that would be the grubbing should resume any time a letter has been sent to Craig Sabo, owner of Northern Pines Landscaping, with a back-to-work date of July 1st. Well, I just drafted the letter today, and it'll be out in the mail tomorrow, and he has until July 1st to complete the grubbing. And in reading the contract was a little bit different from the board motion, so I just wanted to let the board know that the contract states that it's a 7-day notice of violation of the contract, and then after that is a 3-day notice for termination. And we had asked that a letter be sent out that he had until July 1st for termination. So the way I worded the letter is he has till July 1st to correct the violation, and then if it's not corrected by July 1st, he will get a termination letter. So is everyone okay with that? Okay. And then
Kathy, one other thing in the notes, Bob, third paragraph, beginning basketball and beginning hockey begins mid-May 2014.
Oh, sorry about
That's
that.
obviously a typo.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to,
must be 17.
yeah. I would
And you're
think.
talking about
I got big fingers.
inline hockey?
Yeah, we have the inline hockey rink. We always advertise it. It's sometimes we have it, sometimes we don't.
Okay.
But
And did you want to?
yeah, I like to thank Bob MacArthur as well. You know, he does a lot of volunteering. He does the spur of the moment things as well. As last Friday, I bring in this big asphalt roller to roll 8 acres of soccer fields, and I asked Bob, and it was cold. He was in his winter suit, and it vibrates, and he was there all day, and I really appreciate what he did for us. Busy time of the year for me. Dressed, I got pretty muddy today. Chris can relate to this time of the year because he did a good job for me last year, and I'm training
A lot of work.
John Werner, and he's coming along really well. I can send him out to soccer, no problem now, and he lines the fields and does what he's supposed to do. Now he's in training for the baseball. We kind of had a wet, soggy day for opening day. We had to shut down Community Field 2 because the infield was just too muddy. So the girls quickly adjusted the schedule for the coaches, and everybody's practicing. We didn't think we was going to get through them, but we got the machines up and running, and they're having fun down there. The only reason I have to go back down, I got a group coming in at 7:30, but they're set. They don't need machines. but I have to go back down there sometime tonight to turn the lights off. I'm testing the lights tonight, and all the bulbs are working. Last year, we replaced about 3 of them. They're $75 a piece, so plus you gotta get a hoist. So other than that, all things are rolling pretty good. If you got any questions,
Right, I bet.
Just,
I do.
yeah.
Go ahead, go ahead,
Go ahead.
go ahead.
Well, I just was gonna ask about John Werner. Is he a younger man, is he?
I don't know his age. We don't usually typically ask that, but I think he's around 68, 67, 65, somewhere around there. He's retired from Frito-Lay. And he took off right where Steve left off, pretty
Right.
much. Yeah.
That is wonderful. That's what
Yeah.
that's kind of what I was getting at, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of work.
Yep.
And, for someone, one individual to do that, that's
Yeah.
wonderful.
He's, you would be impressed with him, Chris. He's
Yeah.
pretty good.
Obviously, yeah.
Yeah. But yes, Terry.
Good. I'm really glad you found somebody.
Well, of course, my issue is with the skate park.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking at the numbers here for the kids to pay and.
Yeah, we need 23. I
Right,
appreciate you looking at that.
Because since you're asking for 10 kids for one session, based on a $10 an hour pay for
Mm-hmm.
whoever your monitor is, you're already $200 in the hole for one session.
Yeah.
And by the end, it was $720, and your pay would be $3,600. So my question was, who's paying that extra money?
Well, when I first put this is last fall, 2016, I was calculating in the possible pop bottle money that we collect. And we usually get about 600, 700 a year for that. And I never took it to my park subcommittee or anything like that. I was just calculating that in. We can't really count on that, so
Well, yeah, because that's like $2,200
yeah.
fee.
So we would have to shoot for 23. The way that's going to work, if we can't get to 23 kids for the first session, I'll go to the village because they want me to talk to them. I don't have a problem talking to them. Let them know that I would like to try again because school will be getting out and see if we can get those 23 kids. If we can't, I'll sit down with my park subcommittee meeting. We'll bring some proposals to the township board where we go at with that. If we want to put it on eBay for sale, if we want to try some different hours, some different age groups, we'll just have to talk about it and see what we can do.
And what about liability insurance?
Well, it's under the township, all programs.
Even if he, for the, well, not sponsor, but the teacher, whoever this program
Yeah,
director is?
Well, he's an employee.
Okay.
Yeah, the young man I hired is actually educated in the field of rollerblades, skateboarding. He could teach. Him and his family helped build the park back in the day.
So he's had classes to teach this?
He's been involved with instructional, yes, other places, not with us. But he can intermingle with the kids.
How many people are signed up right now, Fred?
We have 3 signed up, 4 waiting to hear, and another inquired today. So we're around 8, 9. I don't see it. Friday is the deadline. The newspaper put an ad out. We'll see what happens. It's a trendy. I had to kick 2 kids out of the park today. They jumped the fence. They were 16, 17-year-olds. This is designed for 15 and under school kids. I pulled out some minutes from back in 2002 when we first built this, and it said the park was designed for 14 and under, and it just got away from us a little bit. Change of hands and just some. We let bikes in. It was getting pretty crazy. I think if we get a little bit more control on it, keep the age group young, and have a good monitor, be able to teach.
Maybe put a fence up that can't be jumped?
You know what? My minutes back then said put a 12-foot fence up as well. They did.
A barbed wire.
Razor wire would work.
Electric.
Is the village okay with you running it though? Because I feel like there's issues
Yeah, I don't.
between
You
us
know,
and the village. So
Dana, I
what
don't
to-
know where all that comes from because last fall, in October, we went to run it. It was really bad weather, so I came to the village. They said, I'd like to bring it back in the spring. There was no action taken, but they did say, get with Tanya Bryce, I did this spring, and she made some adjustments, some good adjustments on the flyer and the cost of the program. Brought it back to the village again, showed them all that. Without a vote and stuff like that, I'm assuming that because it's a rec program, they don't have to approve a recreation program.
But it's their
On their land.
land, so I would think that we need
I
to
never
get-
had, we send a generic letter every year, and I did send that last year. Never went to the council. John Lyons never took it to the council. He told me it was too early. He was gonna take it in January. Well, it never got there. And Kathy and I talked about it. Well, we're gonna submit it again.
Can you say what the generic letter is about?
Yeah, the letter was to get approval for any activities that the Brandon Township Parks and Recreation does in the village. September Fest, Christmas Parade, baseball, softball, skate park. I think that's about it.
Fred, maybe part of it is they just want to be kept in the loop. And I know for your June, it's not approved up till now, but maybe go to them before you start taking applications for June and get
Yeah.
them to give you approval. It might just make them feel better to know that you're involving them in the decision.
I will do that. And
Because
the council's a great bunch of people. I
I
want
can
them.
tell you, because I watched the meeting, pushback wasn't coming from Tanya, so you're gonna have to really maybe talk to Wayne or whoever.
Yeah, I'll do that. On September Fest, we're looking at some different things for September Fest, and I got the village very much, David Trent and the village very much involved with that, and there'll be more things coming up on that as well. I'm busy. And,
Any other
we got the
questions?
park subcommittee meeting, so I'm gonna look to you guys as well for your support. Is that it?
Any other questions? Thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you.
We also have an Edna Burton Senior Center report, and that brings us to trustees' reports. We'll start down with Scott tonight.
Yeah, I attended the youth recognition ceremony, and it obviously went without a hitch with Bob running it, and I know Candy's involved, and our old clerk, Jeannie McCreary, as well. I'm gonna take some of your thunder, Dana. Dana's daughter won an award, and it wasn't until she was able to bring back the packet that they got that I recognized how much work went into that. Each kid got a certificate, almost 20 certificates, from everybody from our U.S. rep down through the governor's office, state reps, Brooksy at Oakland County, signed by every one of these guys, and they were all different certificates, different formats, different colors, and that's a lot of work. And so kudos to you, Candy, and to Bob, the whole group, very good on that. It can make a difference in a couple of kids' lives, so.
Yeah, let's give him a round of applause.
And then secondly, since we've got so many people in the audience, part of being on the Brandon Parks and Rec subcommittee is I spent some time out at our park. And I walked, it's been mentioned in the paper that we have this tree library, but I spent some time actually walking around, and Fred's done a really good job with that. And I'm hoping, Susan, that maybe we can get maybe a little blurb, more than just, a one line. There's maybe interview Fred and let's tell the public what it's all about in the paper. It's really a great thing. So with all you hear, go check it out, because he did some good work there. So that's it.
All right, thank you. Dana?
First, I just wanted to congratulate Bob MacArthur again, and then I wanted to welcome all the residents here. I really like when you guys are here to hear what your concerns are or what you got going on. I also wanted to say thank you to everybody for the Brandon Groveland Youth Association. I attended the awards night, not just because my daughter wasn't even there to accept her award because she had to be at her dance practice, but I went there also as a trustee to congratulate all the kids. And then our retirement oversight committee has not met yet. We're still waiting for the state to ever decide what they're doing with retirement and OPEB funds for public employees. And that's about it on my end. Thank you.
Again, it's great seeing you all here. I always viewed a large crowd like this with some skepticism because I figured something must be wrong. That's why you all show up. What I would encourage you to do, if you have concerns other than something you might see in the paper, you have some concerns, on our website, all of our emails are there. email us. That's probably the easiest way to get your thoughts to us, and that's important to us, so we know what direction we can go on a lot of things. And other than that, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. Give your mother a really nice gift and a hug and a kiss, and because I know she'll appreciate it.
That's it?
That's it.
All right, thank you. Chris?
I just ditto what Bob just said,
All right.
coming out.
All right, thank you. That brings us to the treasurer.
Well, the treasurer's office is breathing a little easier at the moment. All unpaid taxes are now due at Oakland County. We cannot accept anything at the counter. We're locked out of the BSNA application, even at Oakland County, as they're flipping to the 17 tax roll. So if you need information, it's going to be really kind of hard to come by until next week. Next week, we'll be back online. The auditor's finished, at least here in our building, so that's good. And soon we'll be gearing up for the 2017 tax season, so this is our little catch-up month. Remember that dog licenses are due and will become delinquent the 1st of June. So if you come in on the 1st of June, it's $30. You better get it in this month. And when you come in for your dog tags, make sure that you have your certificate of rabies. Even if you had it last year, we still have to see it. We're not being mean, that's just what we have to do. Other than that, happy Mother's Day.
All right, thank you. Clerk?
I'd like to welcome everybody and congratulations to Bob MacArthur. He has done a lot of work over a lot of years, so he's an inspiration to hopefully our young kids that are in youth assistance, because they see him everywhere as well. So this week I have a senior auxiliary meeting at the senior center, and it's where I get all my input from the senior center if they have issues going on. Right now we're in the process of getting new lighting, the new LED, throughout the entire building with rebates from DTE, so the cost will be very low. And it'll also knock down the light bills by like 2/3 a month, so it's gonna be a good savings. Speaking of CDBG, which is our federal dollars coming back to our community, we're upgrading the lighting system, all the breakers. There's not enough breakers in the building. It's been added on over several years, so that's gonna be done right away. And then we'll start the renovation in the kitchens. Make it ADA compliant. It isn't right now, and we wanna make it legal. So, and able for everybody that uses the building to go in and have a nice kitchen to work in. And that's it for me.
Okay, thank you. For the supervisor's report tonight, I want to start out by also thanking everyone that worked with the Youth Assistance Awards. It was a great event. It's a great event every year, and Scott's right, a lot of work does go into that. So thank you for that. At the township offices, we've replaced half of our lighting, not in this room, with LED lights. And so I need to get the rebate back because that paid for all of the lights and a small portion of the workers' pay to install them. So that worked out good for us. The Road Commission for Oakland County sent me notification that they will be lowering the speed limit on Bald Eagle Lake Road from a point 0.27 miles west of Allen Road to the west limits of Brandon Township, and also on Allen Road from a point 4/10 of a mile north of Oak Hill Road to Reese Road. And they're going to set that at 45 miles per hour. In order to set the limits any lower than that, we need to get a speed study. So I'm glad that they took the initiative to at least do those roads.
Do you know how they picked those two roads?
It might have been by driveway entrances.
Okay.
Then Oakland County has declared May as Mental Health Month. And Oakland County Community Network, which was formerly known as Oakland County Community Mental Health Authority, is declaring that May is Mental Health Month. And I think we all need some mental health at a certain point, so let's all do it in May.
For the whole load of mental break.
Last Wednesday, I attended a meeting on sewers, and that was put on by the village manager, and there was some good information there, and what they were discussing was possible sewer special assessment district that would include, number one, the business area, and possibly around Bald Eagle Lake and Lake Louise. It was pretty well attended. What they would like to accomplish is try to get some feedback from the businesses, because if the businesses aren't on board, it's just not going to fly. What I am suggesting to the village is that they bring those presenters to the Township Board and the Village Council, so the Township Board and the Village Council can see what's being suggested. And I thought it might be a good time for us to do a meet and greet with the Village Council. So I'm working with the village manager to make that happen. So just to let you know, Spectrum Internet Assistance is offering a new low-cost, high-speed broadband service that provides qualifying households with internet service for $14.99 per month. So any students or seniors that think they might qualify, that's like if they're on the school lunch program or some other type of supplemental security income, can contact them at 1-844-525-1574 to start the qualification process if anyone's interested in that. And I also received communication from the Road Commission for Oakland County regarding their Adopt a Road program. Volunteer groups that adopt a road segment are asked to pick up litter along the road during 2 of the 3 available cleanup periods each year during the spring, summer, and fall. Cleanup dates for 2017 are April 15th through the 23rd, July 15th through the 23rd, and September 23rd to October 1st. Any group interested in adopting a paved county road section should call the Road Commission for Oakland County Permits Division at 248-585-4891 or send an email to adoptaroad@rcoc.org. And then I have some good news. Brandon Township received a SafeWise Award stating that Brandon Township is the ranked 9th safest. They said city, but they're including townships, villages, and cities all in one group. In Michigan,
Isn't it the
69.
It is
I said
69.
and I said the 9th in
Yeah.
Michigan. I said
Oh, 9th in Michigan.
9th
Okay.
in Michigan.
Oh,
Oh, gotcha.
Okay, and 69th in America. So that's really good. So we owe that to our good policing with the Oakland County Sheriffs. And that concludes the supervisor's report this evening. So we'll move on to correspondence. We have 2 items. The first one is a copy of the SafeWise Award. And the next thing is a road commission for Oakland County speed limit changes, which I've just discussed. So now we are coming into our citizens' comments, and we have a lot of citizens here this evening, and I'm sure everyone has a comment. We are limiting the comments to 3 minutes per person, but if you'd like to come up and speak for less than that, we can get through more people. Or if everyone is here to comment about the same topic, we can have a spokesperson. Also, I'll start off the citizens' comments by reading a letter from one of the residents that contacted me. This is from Chad Rummel. And he says, I would like to officially request that the motion to permanently remove the ITC DTE corridor Route C from potential consideration for the Iron Bell Trail be approved. The use of this corridor clearly invades many citizens' privacy and significantly reduces their security due to the close proximity. There are 3 other options and a 4th potential that not only meet the safety requirements for such a trail, but also minimize or eliminates both of the concerns above. The other options, specifically the Seymour Lake Road option, will also allow for those using the trail to actually be in closer proximity to local businesses, for example, Cook's Dairy, whereas utilizing the ITC corridor particularly guarantees little to no income for the township, as all other businesses are contained within the village. Furthermore, the ITC corridor will require not only the initially estimated costs of constructing the trail, which are very rough numbers and will most likely increase, but will also incur lease fees that will undoubtedly increase over time. Legal fees not only from potential lawsuits, but also fees to gain rights to the numerous easements held by citizens along the corridor. Not to mention the fencing and or natural blocks that will be required and were not included in the original estimates to minimize the impact on the privacy and security of those citizens along the corridor should it be forced through. There are other options, and in the end, all will most likely end up costing the township and its citizens about the same total amount with minimal net income. Again, please remove Route C, the ITC corridor, from the selection process. Sincerely, Chad Rummel. Okay. So we have 2 in agreement with the letter. All right, at this time, we'll take citizens' comments. So when you're called on, just step up to the podium and state your name and let us know what you have to say. Who would like to start? Oh, nobody. Then we're, oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Hi, my name, can you hear me? Okay. My name is Andrea Austin.
Andrea, that's not a speaker microphone. It just
Oh, it
goes
just-
on the cable, so everyone in cable land can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Okay. My name is Andrea Austin. I live on 1335 Kent Road. I'll start my statement really quickly just to throw out there on that skate park. I'd love to see that thing picked up and moved to the Brandon Township Community Park. Just by default, anybody going to the Brandon Township Community Park is escorted by a parent because you have to get a car ride there. So with the new stuff that's going on there, I'd love to see a way to squeak that thing in there. So I just want to throw that out there. Secondly, I'm here most importantly because I'm passionate about some sort of trail being available in our town. I think we all agree that devices are taking over not only our children's lives, but even our adult lives. And I think a healthy introduction to our community is absolutely necessary. I've ridden the trails in the Rochester area for years, and I've seen the positive impact. I've also had my real estate license, and I've seen the positive impact on those properties it's adjacent to. I've seen it as a plus on a real estate listing in Rochester when your house is on the trail. I know change is difficult for a lot of people, and it's hard to think about it that way, but I'm positive that the trail is, wherever it is going to be a major impact. I said I live on Kent Road, which in my opinion is one of the most dangerous roads in the township with the hills and the speed. And the C Trail would come out near Kent. So for me personally, I'd love to see the C Trail. I do understand the concerns. But for my children who are growing up every day, I'd love to see something happen. And I'd hate to turn down this offering of money from the state. I think that we're so lucky in Brandon Township to have this coming or proposed to come through our township. And I strongly urge you to find a way to make it happen. can't stress enough how important it is to me and my family. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Good, more clappers.
Hi, Carol Lavoine. I'm going to ditto Chad's email. I, too, would love to have a trail, but I don't want to have a trail that goes right by somebody's front porch, literally feet from the porch, or right by their backyard, so that they get no privacy. We've got to find a way to put in these trails in such a way that the people who live off of it still are able to keep their privacy, are not going to have people coming up to their houses, which if you ever look at the power lines right along Granger, there are houses practically underneath them. So those houses basically will have no front yard anymore. Again, I voted on the, what was it, the survey. I said I would like to trail. I really would, just not that spot. So.
Okay, since it seems as though most of the clapping is either for Trail C or against Trail C, why don't we take a count of how many here are in support of Trail C and who are against Trail C. So first, let's sure. Why don't you come on up to the podium?
I just want to be clear that, is it to remove just the C, the proposal C for the trail?
Yes. That's what's on the agenda.
So then the other three stay on there.
Yes.
But they're all four going to be on there anyway. And we did do a survey in the community, and C was obviously what had won out in that. So I really don't want to see it removed. It's been chosen by the majority of the people here that took the survey, so I think that alone means it should stay on there.
What was your name?
Sheila, Jeanette. And I also have kids in the community, and I ride my bike all over around here. And it just is the safest option to be on a bike trail.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to take a head count, but that does not mean you can't come up to the podium. We just want to get a head count to see how many are in favor and how many are not in favor. So if you are
Trail C.
Of Trail C, this is just Trail C, which goes down the ITC corridor. It starts up Baldwin Road, picks up the ITC corridor, stays on that until it gets to the village. That's pretty much the general place of where that goes.
Can we find out of those who are not in favor of Trail C if they're still, I'm trying to find out
They're in favor of trails.
if they're even in favor of trails, or they're just not in favor of trails at all, so they don't even want Trail C, because I think that's kind of an important
Well, we can
issue too.
Yeah.
And then those ones who are for Trail C, obviously, we know they're for trails.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So if you are in favor or supportive of Trail C as an option, please raise your hand.
I'm gonna do more than one count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19.
I get 20. I got 20. There's in the back. If you're in the back out there and can you raise your hand so we can see, or step
Just
in?
the one person.
Oh,
Yeah.
just, okay. I thought there was a young lady out there too.
I did too, I thought
6,
that was
7,
cute.
8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I got 19.
That's what I got, it's 19.
I got 19.
Okay. So we have 19.
19.
Okay. If you oppose Route C, please raise your hand. 17?
17.
I got 17.
Okay, of those 17 though,
Well, just let's ask the question. How many are against trails? Any
Period.
period.
well, I
yeah,
wanted to know
any
out of
trails.
those 17 who were against trails first. So out of those 17, are you against trails? Just one, okay. Well, that's
People
what,
in-
if you favored it, you should,
If, exactly.
okay, we can do
that's-
that too, yeah.
In favor of any trail?
Yeah.
Well, if we have one against trails, it looks like we're gonna have
But there could be others-
36 that wants a trail. But you wanna know in favor of a different option? Well, right now, at
That
our
kind of
board meeting
answers it,
tonight,
yeah.
we're only considering Route C.
Yeah, we're
So-
not taking trails totally off.
We just want to see,
They want, a trustee put it on the sheet to ask us to remove Trail C. So we're trying to determine, do we remove Trail C? But I wanted to see, out of those who were against Trail C, if they were just against trails, because they'd be against any trail we were deciding about tonight. So to me, that's not really what we're voting on tonight. We're voting on on Route C. We're not voting against or for trails.
Okay.
Pardon?
So, if anyone else would like to speak at the podium, now is your opportunity. Yes, sir.
For the sake of time, my name is John Bickle. This is Jennifer. We're husband and wife. We reside at 415 North Baldwin Road. And the trail would potentially, one of the proposed trails would potentially go within about 300 feet of my front door. Some of the pine trees would have to be removed, and I strongly encourage a rural-friendly route for children, for families, whatever route's chosen. If it comes across my front yard,
That'd be awesome.
it's awesome. I would appreciate it. We just did 70 miles in Detroit over 2 days, and I would not take my niece there. She's 8 years old. We take her to the Pollyanna. We take her to the Macomb Orchard. We take her to downtown Rochester because it's a safe alternative to riding on the road. We have parents with bicycles taking their kids to Seymour Lake Park down the street from me, and they're going down Baldwin Road with children. I don't want it on my head. We've written all the newspapers locally to encourage some kind of safe pedestrian avenue for people to not only enjoy our rural setting, but to have good family time. Let me just say this too. We just spent that time in Detroit. We ate at restaurants, local eateries. We go to Rochester. We eat at local eateries. We go to Macomb Orchard. We eat breakfast, dinner, go have a few drinks. That's included in our trail ride. And most cyclists we cycle with, including clubs, eatery venues are part of our trail ride. Detroit, we'll ride 30 miles, go out to dinner or go out to lunch, eat, get back on our bikes without alcohol, and ride to wherever our final destination is going to be, and then have a beer. So, do you have any further comments?
I do. I would like to just say to the people, as someone who would live on the trail, I would welcome it for many reasons, but the immediate reasons would be I have 3 dogs. We've lived in Brandon Township on Baldwin Road for 10 years. I've owned my dogs for 9. If I want to take my dogs for a walk, which I do 4 to 5 times a week, I drive to Orion Township, Independence, or Addison, or I go to the Pollyanna or one of those trails. I cannot walk outside of my front door and take my dogs for a walk because there's nowhere to walk. Baldwin, obviously, I'm sure all of you have driven down Baldwin. It is not a safe place to walk or to ride your bike. And for me, the important thing is, I know that there's other routes, they want to put them on the main roads, but when I go to ride my bike, I don't want to hear cars. I want to ride in a rural setting where there's trees. And I'd just like to say, for those of you who live on the trail route, have you ever gone to the Pollyanna, Macomb Orchard? Have you ever walked the trails? Okay.
Jen,
But what you see there,
Jen, This
You're
time, you're
addressing
supposed to be making comments to the
To us.
board.
Oh, I'm sorry. But, okay, I apologize then.
That's all right.
But what I see when I go on the trail is a lot of foliage and greenery that hides the homes. There's a lot of privacy that naturally takes place as the trail develops. And for me, that's what I enjoy.
All right, thank you.
Ask for clarification, are they said pro-rural, does that mean they're pro-C or just pro any other rural?
She wants C in her yard.
Rural, any rural.
Any rural, so including C.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Kathylaga. I live on Route C. The area of Route C, where Route C would go behind our house, is extremely rural. It is not an area that would be easily patrolled or easily, it would be easy for people to be covert and come to you on the trail without any opportunity to defend yourself, really. I'm a runner. The roads are not good to run. I have run Clinton River Trail. I have run several of these trails. They do not come as close in the areas that I've run to houses as parts of Route C come in our area. The thing that concerns me most is the safety of the people using the trail, because it cannot be patrolled back in some of those extremely rural areas. You would have to go a half mile, 3/4 of a mile in from a main road just to get to somebody who needed help. And it wouldn't be with an ambulance, it would be with, you'd have to be in by foot because they're pretty small trails. So,
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Haynes, and 10 years ago my husband and I moved here from Auburn Hills, and we actually lived right behind Clinton River Trail, and it was definitely less than 300 feet from our house. And that's the only thing I miss about that city, is that trail and being able to get on that trail and walk it. And we take our kids to state parks all summer, and everything says, like, at your own risk. You want to go down the sand dunes and you need help, you're paying for it. So this whole, like, fear of getting accosted on a trail, like, people can be walking down a road and that can happen. You just got to use your judgment, and we can't police everyone because we're in charge of ourselves. So to me, being able to have the opportunity to have a trail here and where people can walk their dogs, go on bike rides with their kids, because we have the same thing. We do have the luxury of living close to a couple of state parks in Ortonville, but I mean, I just think all around it's a positive thing to get the kids out and on the trails. My kids don't even know what a sidewalk is, or, I mean, I just think it's a really positive thing for the community. It's healthy, and you just got to use your judgment. And yeah, things happen, and it's okay. That's all.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, well, I'm Rick McAvinci. I live at 300 Woodbridge Lane, which is right along the old railroad trail. It's part of our property boundary. I would actually love to be able to get on my bike, just come right downtown in 3 or 4 minutes. I don't mind the idea of people going by. But having said that, I was thinking about this after our last meeting like this, and most of the rails to trails, trails developed from old railroads, and Michigan has more miles than any other state. Most of them, I'm supposed to talk to you folks, most of them are recently abandoned railroads. Like Macomb Orchard Trail was still in use in the late 90s, because I go to Richmond every week and I would have to wait for trains to go through. And it was developed as a trail in the mid-2000s. So it's very recent. This Detroit Urban Railroad was abandoned or decommissioned in about 1930. So compared to the others where people are used to, if those railroads go past people's backyards, people are used to having those disturbances of a train going by maybe several times a day. No one living along this trail has ever had that kind of disturbance in their lifetime. So I can understand why people don't want that. I do, and I live along it. But anyway, that's something obviously different about this old railroad bed compared to all the other trails, railroad trails in the state, probably, or at least a lot of them. Yeah. Okay, having said that, I've spent my entire career working for the National Wildlife Refuges and U.S. Forest Service and such in Michigan and Alaska, and I've spent my entire adult life out in the woods and rivers and lakes and stuff. So to me, it's just a wonderful place to be, and I'd much prefer, if we ever had a choice of a trail going through the woods or along the side of a road, I would much prefer it through the woods because it's a much better, higher quality experience. I don't ever worry about anybody accosting me out in the woods. The only thing I used to worry about in Alaska is bears. And we don't have to worry about them here, which is kind of a change. Anyway, so I just want to bring those points up that trail through the woods I consider much more higher quality experience than just, I mean, if you want to ride, and I have hundreds of times ridden my bike on the gravel roads in the township, why would you need a trail? Just ride the roads and just be careful, watch the traffic, and don't get run over, pretty much. So anything else? Let's see. Oh, I just want to say that trails are every bit as legitimate use of public funds and public lands as any other recreational development like sports fields, parks, pavilions, community pools, and tree library. So I like the tree library. But I just think that there's no question that trails are as legitimate a use of public funds as any of those other recreational facilities. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. Oh, I'm sorry. Was somebody else coming up?
Go ahead.
My name's Kerry Mullins. My husband grew up in Ortonville. I moved here with him with our 3 kids. I really desire to have a trail more through a wooded area. It's not just for riding, not just for running, but it's also a chance to take the kids and explore. You know, we gave up our dream of having acreage because there was nowhere for the kids to go when we were on the back roads, you know. It was very unsafe. So we're in a subdivision now because there was no safe solution anywhere else. And trails are something that are very well used in many communities, and I think that this community could really benefit from a younger crowd coming in, and that's definitely something that would bring in a younger crowd, and that would benefit businesses. It would benefit the community as a whole. We can't maintain an older community without bringing in new blood. So.
Get to you. You'll be next, okay? She's going to be next over there. Yes.
Hi, Kevin Gibson. I'm sure you all remember me. I bought my house about a year ago after I moved back from the Bay Area of California. I wanted a place to be quiet and alone. I paid a premium for 4 acres off of Granger Road with a beautiful house, a nice slope up the backside. Never thought I'd have any problems. Then I find out a bunch of people are trying to build a trail that overlooks my backyard. 0 privacy for me or my wife, or the family we're going to have. Is that the repayment I get for moving out here and having an hour-long commute? It's cool. I feel ripped off. This is not what Ortonville is supposed to be about. The township? It's rural. If you want a trail, run it along the roads. Don't run it through people's backyards, even sidewalks. It's not even a sidewalk you're talking about. I'm just so tired of this issue. I wish people would stop bringing it up.
Ma'am? Yes.
Well,
I've commented on this before, and I agree with Kevin.
Could you tell us your name, please?
My name is Sue, and Rich and I are the owners of Common Sense Canine Resort, and we're on Granger Road. And I think the biggest point I want to make is this, is that you can't have a group of people that's large that's going to hurt a smaller group of people. The people that live on that Trail C do not want this. A lot of them are not here tonight. We were the majority at the last meeting. The people who actually live where that trail is supposed to go through, this goes right next to people's garages. This isn't like, 300 feet. This is like from here to there, right next to someone's garage. That's ridiculous. And what I think I'm hearing here is there's people here that want this trail, and they don't care. It's like you don't care about the people you're hurting. That would really hurt someone to have some trail right next to their garage or right across their front yard. I can't believe that people would say, we don't care about you, we want what we want, instead of saying, let's find a better alternative for this. There's other trails, there's other routes that don't go right next to people's houses. This trail will take up, I think it's 1,700 feet right behind my kennel business, right behind my house. And down the street,
You need to address the board.
Down the street, there's a lady, just next to us. This would go, I don't think it's very far from her barn where she keeps her horses. So that would really hurt her and her horses. That's why they're rural, to have these kinds of animals. So I'm really disheartened that there's people here that don't care about the people who actually live on the trail or the proposed Route C, and say, we don't care about any of you, we want this trail. And I just think that's ridiculous.
Hi, my name is Jason Schaeffer, and I just moved with my wife to Ortonville a couple years ago. And for us, we're very active. We like walking, running, riding bikes. And I think, do we know how many actual houses or residences are affected by the trail?
At this time, you're here to make a comment to the board. We're
Okay.
not, so
Okay.
we don't
Well,
have information to give you right now.
I think there's a small majority of the residents that are whose properties are affected by it. And I think anything that you pass is going to negatively affect some people and positively affect more. So if we vote on a millage, some people can't afford the tax raise, but guess what? If it's majority rules, then they have to pay it. And as far as the four options, I agree with a lot of the people here that you want to experience the trail in a more of a rural environment and not just a glorified sidewalk along the side of the road for miles and miles. If you're on the sidewalk and we make the trail A, B, or D, it's still going to affect a lot of residences. It's still going to affect a lot of people. So we'd love it if nobody was affected negatively by it and everybody loved it. But the reality is, no matter what route is chosen, if that happens, some people are going to be unhappy with it. And for the people that do want a trail, this route is by far the best, and it's already been shown that with the survey that was taken. And on top of that, it was by far the least expensive to do. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
My name is David Van Dis. I'm the chairperson for the Brandon Blackhawk Community Trail Committee. And there was a lot of excitement and enthusiasm, and we felt honored by being asked by the state that this village would be a part of the Iron Belt Trail, whatever route, which we had no clue at that time. But the township was quite gracious and applied for a grant, received the grant, and did the engineer study, came up with 4 studies. Route C overwhelmingly outdid all the other routes. It's the least intrusive, it has the least excavation, less tree removal. It's one property owner, almost a straight line, and not even the people knowing that is the least expensive one from that study. And we had over 1,600 signatures on petitions stating that they would like to see trails in this in this township and in the village. And it just seems like all that excitement kind of got killed in a way because there's a disease going around this area, the village and the township. And it could be contagious. It only affects the NIMBYs, the minorities, the pessimists, the negative people that are against anything that might make our community more viable and a happy place to visit, let alone live here. And it isn't the skate park, it isn't so many other things that just seem to be downplaying making this community viable. And we don't need to be in the dark ages. Let's come out of it. Look at other communities that have trails, which I have done, and I've got hundreds of letters that people were super against the trail. A lot of the people that are against the trail that live on C, just because you're talking about C, you're talking about garages, porches, and everything else being within 10, 15, 25 feet. If you check them out, they're illegally built because that's way too close. The side sets are wrong. The rear setbacks are wrong. The one house, they've got propane tanks out on the property. They're trespassing. The ones with the horses down the line, they've got gates coming out on the thing. They're using that trail illegally. That's private property. There's 4-wheelers of people. They're hunting on it. They're doing all kinds of stuff on it. They just don't want anybody else doing it. And I was very disappointed that the trustee that brought this up has a very much conflict of interest on this, bringing it up. And very disappointed. We got longtime residents that have been for it that refuse to come to the meetings anymore because of the negativity and the non-positive response on the community input. Yes, it's going to affect a few, but if you do your homework and check the other ones around it, you'll find a lot better resource, but we have to work together to do that.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's John Coyne. I live on at 567 Lockwood. We've been residences here for 22, going on 23 years now. I've raised 4 boys in this community, and I absolutely refuse to take them on Granger Road, which is the closest access to us when we were taking them, teaching them how to ride bicycles or growing up. We would take them down to the Pollyann Trail, take them down to Independence Oaks to try in the park systems there, because that road is completely unsafe when it comes to riding, running, that type of thing. You've got 4-wheelers, you've got 4-wheel drive trucks, cars just running at way over what would be considered a safe speed. That being said, I moved from a community in Iowa, small town, that the Brandon Township reminded me of when we moved out here looking for a rural community, and that had a nice school system that seemed to be growing. And that community has since seen a huge, back in Iowa, seen a huge growth in schools. Businesses moved into the community. One of the things that's driven that is they've done the rails to trails. They've converted all the rails going through that town to a bike system. It's all paved. They've got rest stops throughout the area. They've got all kinds of restaurants that have opened up along there, that it becomes a destination type thing to go from town to town not just through the town, but just people take a Sunday afternoon ride. That's not saying that would happen here right away, but it's definitely giving the town an opportunity for some growth potential. You look at a town that's just closing another school. You look at you look in the Citizen, you see nothing but constant reduction in head counts for the school. I see a township that's just regressing, a township that's dying from that standpoint, people moving away because things like the Trail C or other options are not available. I mean, it's taken a long time to get the park system that we have. There was a lot of objection to that, but I see this objection to a trail as just another reason why things like our school systems people are moving away. I will agree with gentlemen as far as some of the properties, things like that. Remember, you bought a property with an easement on it. That easement's for the power company, that easement's for the railroad. They have the right to come through there again. If you put a building within 30 feet or next to this counter, that goes back on the township, building committee, that goes back on you as an individual. You've encroached on an easement. So that's all I have to say. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, Susan Esser. I also live on Granger Road, and the trail would come behind my house, and I'm also the Oxford Village Clerk. Once a month, we hold a meeting for the Pollyann Trail, and not a week goes by that I don't get a complaint. Whether there's too much litter, there's trespassing on people's homes, there's breaking into people's garages. I get it every week. It's a big, big issue. We also, has the township decided where they're going to take the funds to maintain this trail? Trash is a big, big complaint, probably my #1 complaint, next to trespassing. On back of my house, I have one bridge that is all washed out and have to be redone. There's at least 2 more. At the heights, at least 20 feet drop. How much are those bridges? I didn't see that in the other 3 sites that were there. There didn't seem to be any bridges. How much does it cost to build a bridge? $250,000, $500,000? These bridges need to be repaired. On my house, I'm at the beginning of Kent and Granger. I've got a long stretch. I've had people poach deer on my property. I found last January a deer that all they did was take the antlers, left the deer. I find the guts, left a deer. I find bonfires. Was about 2 months ago. 2 months ago, I cleaned the property. I found 3 syringes. My neighbor found a tortured raccoon tied to one of the telephone poles on that ITC corridor. I think it's amazing. The Oakland County Sheriff and the village disapproved this route. They said it was unsafe to have the trail going through the village. And most of that trail would have been in front of people's houses where there are people on their porches, where cars go by. There are no cars, there are no trails. It would be, I think, a bad mistake to take this trail behind people's houses. I think having safety paths in this community is a big deal. We don't have any. Our kids, up until recently, had to walk M15 to get to the middle school and the high school. And then now that Bell Ann's closed, but before, it would have been nice to have the kids ride their bikes back and forth. Our kids can't even do that, and we can watch them. If they're behind my house, I worry about them. I worry about everyone. I worry about myself. I get 4-wheelers. I get a dirt bike for hours going up and down the trail. There used to be a safety fence. That's gone. I mean, keep the community safe, and then find the money to keep this every year. It's at least $70,000 to maintain it. I know, because I do the minutes for the Pollyann Trail. I know that's a fact. Thank you.
Sure. I won't be up for long. I wasn't planning on saying anything. My name is Sharon Van Dis, married to that lovely man, David Van Dis. This is not a planned speech. Dave and I have ridden trails for years and years. You talk about privacy. Okay, we live on Church Street. Sidewalk's right there. People, what are they doing? They're walking on the sidewalk, rollerblading, bicycling. Do I worry about them looking in my home, looking in my windows to see what I'm doing? You know what? I look out my picture windows. I remind myself of that TV show of that neighbor who would look, what's going on? But I'm interested in seeing what's going on. That's not a worry to me. So they're as close to me as possibly for a bike trail. Definitely, other thing, there's so many things. Okay, we've ridden so many trails. You talk about trash, all of that. We have been on many, many trails. Dave and I have not seen trash. I mean, we have not run into people that we're afraid of. Police, the security, I don't know if I remember one policeman being on a trail that we have been on. The people we see are people riding bicycles that whiz right back by us because those are the professionals that have the nice outfits on. You know, we have the jeans on and we're just plugging along. You see mothers with babies and their strollers. You see seniors like us. Okay, the booklet I just read today that's available in the village offices, Prosper, I believe it is. I read every bit of that. There was so much positive in that, so much about trails, biking, bicycling, and running and walking, and the different communities that have clubs. That this town may be small, but we could have a bicycle club, just like Rochester does for the seniors. There's so much that I could say, but all I want to say, there's more positive than negative. And it's true, not everybody is going to be happy with this, but I think it's going to be improvement. I have talked to people, yes, maybe not just because trails may not come in here, but they are going to move. They're going to move because you know why? They're just, they're done with it. It's just like Dave has worked on this for 2 years, so excited and enthusiastic about it, met so many people so excited about it. And sometimes I would think, all the hours he puts into this, why? It was a passion. It still is for him. And I just hope that this community, we can work together because that's the main thing. It's not to fight with each other. It's to work with each other to make it a better community. True, our schools, they're declining. We've got businesses that will be not in the village, that'll be going out to the highway. That's not a good thing. So I just hope that you can reconsider. And Dave has already pointed out, because he knows more about it than I do, and like the other man talked about easements. No, he showed me today also, and I've seen it before. You know, we're talking about this issue. Yes, the issue of people with their property. It's not their property, and they have, whether or not it's a tent set up on it or what have you, but they're not on they're on village property, and they should not be doing that. But, okay, but the skate park, I will just say something briefly about that. That's sad, too. Dave and I have been in many communities. We've seen big skate parks, and kids there, no monitors, no locked-up gates. They're just out there having fun. Okay, I realize one of the ladies here, she's a neighbor and lives right next door to it. I don't know. I think, I know how I am. If I saw a problem with it and the kids were not talking nicely, maybe there's drugs, whatever, smoking, I don't know. I would talk to them and I'd say, hey guys, you've got to stop this because, you know, if you don't, it's going to be taken away. And we want this, we want something good for you also. But you know what? We keep taking things away from this community. Do we want, like Trump has talked about, do we want a wall around this town? Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
One more, I'll be brief. I am absolutely scared to death. Kathylaga. I live on Rattlesnake Lane. We had a number of the board members out to our properties to look and see the area and everything. And I'm very interested to see what goes on if there's a vote. One of the things is those easements are not village property. They're ITCs or Fortis, or do we even know who owns it. We're looking to lease from a company that we don't know, might not be an American company, might be a Canadian company. And on those leases, when you put in that money for, you know, to build the trail or to rebuild the bridges, which the original numbers are wrong. All the original assessments are completely wrong. I've had engineers that have come out and looked at the bridge that's right on my property that needs to be rebuilt, and the whole thing needs to be leveled and rebuilt. It was built in 1902, and now it doesn't exist hardly at all except for the concrete. So the numbers, I'd like to see those numbers again before anybody votes on Route C. I'd also, well, I have to say I'm not against trails at all whatsoever, but I will invite anybody here that wants to come over and look at our properties and see what we're dealing with. Because we've had the board members over and they've seen what we're dealing with. One thing on safety, we talked about it before. What's the liability if I put a sign up that says no trespassing and some child comes in and drowns in my pond?
Right.
Look it up. That's the liability on that. If they're on the road, it's a completely different thing. It's a completely different liability if they get hit by a car or something like that. Safety. Most of the people that that live in that area right there have dogs. They don't roam free, but they know their boundaries. I just lost a dog. I understand that if that dog sees a person walking through my backyard, no matter where that boundary is, that dog's going through after whatever it sees. So, I mean, what do we want? The other thing is I would really like to see, I can't ask you to do it, but I would like to see the board vote on the trail thing. The for or against Route C, against Route C. And also I'd like to see how many people that are for Route C live on Route C. The numbers tell.
Okay, is there anyone?
Yeah.
Do you have a comment, ma'am? You need to come up to the microphone. Okay. Is there anyone else that has a comment? And it doesn't have to be on trails. There's other things on our agenda.
My name's Alan Hafley. I live on Granger Road near Baldwin. I just wanted to mention, I think it was 2 years ago when I saw something in the paper about Phragmites, if you know what that is, the plants that grow so high, and they're a big problem all over the state. And I saw something where they were going to do some spraying on Granger Road, and they happened to spray in my area. I had contacted Kathy about it to see if there was anything they were going to do for homes or if I could contact the company myself, which I did. Well, last spring, I noticed that the Phragmites were all dead along the road anywhere that they had sprayed, so I knew it had been successful. Mine apparently came into my property, unbeknownst to me, when I had the pond redug. The large drag line must have brought the Phragmites in, and I thought they were really cool at first. Didn't know how they spread. They'll shoot out 40-foot runners, and then pretty soon they take care of everything, take over everything. But at any rate, there is some hope. My property was sprayed. Kathy called me in the winter and said, now is the time to knock down everything that has been sprayed. I did that, and as I look now, I have cattails coming up around the pond, but the Phragmites seem to be pretty much done. I still see some, but it seems to have worked really well. So, I mean, it's something, if it's a problem for people, it's something that can be handled, and I'm pretty happy about that, because I couldn't even see across my pond. It was 10 feet wide and 16 feet high, so that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Good. I like how everybody's clapping for everyone else. That's nice. Yes.
Well, this is different to stand on this side.
I like that everybody is talking about our rural community that we live on and the wonderful nature that we have here. However, they have to recognize that we have a huge threat to that. We are headwaters to two key river systems, Flint River and Clinton, right. And we have to recognize that what threat there is from invasive species. I live on 10 acres. I've lived there for 30 years. I've never had any issues. I can walk through the woods. I can walk down to, I'm on Kearsley Creek. I get great water coming up out of my well. All of that works. However, 3 years ago, swallowwort started growing. It took over 7 acres of my 10 acres. Not only did it take it over, we could not walk through the woods. It was above our knees, and it's all tangled, and you can't even walk through it. Nor could the animals get through it. The turkeys went totally away. We had no turkeys. The deer, of course, could kind of get through. They always can get through everything, but it made a big difference. And it can impact not only the rivers that our water is running into, it can impact your groundwater because it chokes out everything native. It will even kill off trees, plants, everything. And then it doesn't allow for the water to drain as it should so that it refreshes then your groundwater so that you have something to come up out of your well. So it can have a huge impact. I had my property sprayed last year. First year in 3 years that we could walk through the woods. Now this year we'll have to spray again, but not as much because I see some more coming up. It takes about a 3-year term to actually get rid of them. But if we don't start recognizing what kind of threat this is, it won't matter if we have a trail. It won't matter what we have because we won't have nature to enjoy. It will start killing itself off. So I want to recommend that the board continue to participate in the SISMA group and continue to seek their expertise in keeping our natural habitat the way that we all want it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Yes.
Hi. Obviously. I support the email, so I think running the trail along Seymour Lake it's more beneficial for the whole community. And right now, if the trail ran through the corridor, I would still have to get in my car, load up my kids, and drive to get to the trail to even use it. So for the way I see it is if it's running along Seymour Lake Road, everyone in the community that's living on these dirt roads can drive that way to the road or to the trail and then take it up and down the road. So thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to make a comment tonight? Okay, I don't see any more hands, so I think, oops.
Can I say something else?
Very, very quickly.
3 minutes?
Hi, I got 2 minutes. I didn't realize you were going to vote on invasive species control here tonight, but yeah, I'm a wildlife biologist and a forester, and I see invasive species everywhere I go, and this township is just really invaded with all kinds of different species here. It would be, well, as Cheryl was talking about, they do crowd out most of the native species if you allow them to, and therefore I think it would be very important to support this group in Oakland County that does offer a lot of expertise to help landowners control their invasive plants, buckthorns and autumn olive and honeysuckles and swallowwort and the rest of them. It's major concern for those of us that pay attention to native plants and the non-native invasive plants. If you can help in that effort, the township really ought to do that and support that. That's all I want to say about it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, last call. All right, we will continue on with our meeting at this point. Thank you, everyone, for making a comment. It's nice to hear from everybody. So we have no discussion items on our agenda this evening, but we do have a consent agenda. On our consent agenda, we have regular meeting minutes of April 3rd, 2017, special meeting minutes of April 3rd, 2017, special, let's see, why do we have, oh, that's for a closed session, yes, yeah, okay. Then we have special meeting minutes of April 18th, 2017. I was thinking of the 24th, but those aren't on here. That's what confused me. All right, we also have regular bills in the amount of $155,764.15. Prepays in the amount of $62,766.21. Township benefits from payroll account of $32,366.71. And trustee timesheets in the amount of $1,164. Are there any questions or concerns on the consent agenda this evening? Would someone like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Chris, did you say?
Yes,
you
second.
Okay.
Support.
Okay, I have a motion by trustee Marshall, seconded by trustee Cordella, to approve the consent agenda as presented. If there's no discussion, we will take a roll call, please.
Broughton.
Yes.
Darnall.
Yes.
DePalma.
Yes.
Cordella.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Thurman.
Yes, motion carries unanimously. So we will move on to new business this evening. Our first item is the Oakland County SISMA Memorandum of Understanding. And I think I sent, did I send this email to anybody or not? No, or it was just in the packets?
It was in the packet.
Okay, that was the last meeting. What I included was the MOU that they'd like us to enter into again, and then the old MOU. So you can see that pretty much a lot of it is the same. There's just a few changes on it. I also set in front of you a letter from the Oakland County SISMA with the reasons why we should enter into this agreement. And it says that Oakland County SISMA was established in 2014 and has grown to approximately 25 members, including townships, cities, and villages of Oakland County, county agencies, local conservation nonprofits, and universities. In 2015, the Oakland County SISMA was awarded $243,775 in grant funds from Michigan Invasive Species Grant Program. Using these funds, plus over $200,000 matching funds, the Oakland County SISMA members treated invasive species on 113 miles of road right-of-way and an additional 1,097 acres in 2016. So this grant program, through the grant program, the Oakland County SISMA also developed a strategic invasive species management plan for Oakland County to guide for future efforts. And we're doing this in preparation to apply for another grant opportunity. And then also for the board, there's a flyer that gives you more information on invasive species. So anyways, I was just wondering, did anyone have any questions or concerns about the MOU? Is anyone ready to make the motion that's presented?
Sure, I'll make the motion to approve the 2017 Oakland County Cooperative Invasive Species Management Area Memorandum of Understanding as presented, and authorize the supervisor to sign the document and serve on the steering committee as outlined in the MOU.
Second.
And did anyone have any questions or concerns?
Yep, I
before
do.
we? Yes.
When I was looking at this, okay, we were able to receive $9,625 in funds, $4,968 from RCOC, and $1,000 from us, and $4,000 in in-kind service from you. That equals $19,709 for 11 acres. That's $1,792 an acre. That's a lot of money.
It's expensive to treat them.
And it's ongoing. Just bringing that to everyone's attention.
The only amount that's coming out of our general fund is $1,000, though.
And Kathy's time of $4,000, right?
In Kathy's
Which is-
time, but
Which we pay anyways.
we
Right.
pay it
But
anyways
you
to
could
her.
be
And
doing
if she,
something else.
well, it's up to her
Just
time.
saying.
Do you have time, Kathy, to do it?
Yes, I would like to continue doing it. I think it's a worthwhile cause.
Okay.
So I will take the time to do it.
My concern too is if one homeowner doesn't get on board and want to have it taken away, isn't it going to keep spreading over to the places that you're treating?
There's always that. But if you don't start somewhere, it'll just get worse.
Okay.
And hopefully, the person that's not on board right off the bat may decide to come on board at a later time.
I just don't see us getting every homeowner that has it on their property, like in their back 40 or swamp land that they don't even realize they have it, are gonna wanna pay out money.
Right, and another thing we discussed as a board is also looking at an invasive species ordinance, because if we do have a invasive species ordinance in place for ITC transmission lines, Enbridge corridors, then they will have to treat the invasive species on their property. So we're hoping that he's no, but I see you're smiling.
We did have that conversation, but I was a little concerned about that because if you put it on them, you put it on all the businesses because you can't state who it goes onto, and I don't know if I want to put that burden onto our businesses or our residents because of that. I'm fine with us doing what we can do, but I just don't know.
Well, it's something to look at.
About the
It
burden
also-
of the businesses being able to afford it.
That, I think, would also include churches, schools. I mean, you can't-
Libraries.
Right,
it
but I
would
mean,
have
I'm
to be
fine doing what we're
everybody.
doing now. I don't want to talk about an ordinance because I think that needs a lot of research, so I don't really want to put that out there that we're looking at the ordinance right this minute. 'Cause-
You know, Kathy, at the village meeting, and I'm sure you know her name, and it was Janet, or there was a woman who came, and she did a whole presentation. Leslie. She did a good job, you know, she's kind of all over, but she's very knowledgeable about this subject, and especially when we're talking about, I guess, which one was it, one of them, she actually, it's very cheap to treat. I mean, she was talking about how she goes around with her 5-gallon bucket and, you know, is doing all Kego Harbor kind of thing. So maybe the swallowwort and such is more expensive, but the Phragmites, that's the word I was trying to come up with. The Phragmites themselves are actually very cheap to treat. It's just finding people to do it. It's the way I understood it.
Right, I was just saying, Kathy had just mentioned doing an ordinance. I was just saying hasn't been no starting of a discussion. I don't want people
Yeah, I
to
wasn't
start to
talking
think
about
that
an
we're
ordinance. I
like
just think
gonna start an ordinance
an
on it.
education program would be a better way to go.
Put an expense on everybody. Yeah, I think an education program and let people decide. I can't imagine putting another expense on the businesses or the residents. I think we really need to look into that before we make that decision and start an ordinance is all I was saying. I didn't want people to be scared we were doing an ordinance.
Are there any other comments? I just want to let everyone know that we are doing a demonstration educational program at the library toward the end of July. So if anyone's interested in participating, please give my office a call and we'll put you on the list. We don't have an exact date yet, but we're going to be treating Phragmites and have starter kits available. So, and we also did not a demonstration, but a program at the library in regard to invasive plants as well. So part of this grant is to promote education.
Which is a good thing.
All right. I have a motion by DePalma, supported by Trustee Broughton, to approve the 2017 Oakland County Cooperative Invasive Species Management Area Memorandum of Understanding as presented, and authorize the supervisor to sign the document and serve on the steering committee as outlined in the MOU. Are there any further questions? Let's just do a roll call on this, please.
Darnall?
No.
DePalma?
Yes.
Cordella?
Yes.
Marshall?
Yes.
Allen?
Yes.
Broughton?
Yes.
Thurman?
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you. Next on our agenda is the fireworks funding request. The Greater Ortonville Area Chamber of Commerce has disbanded. The Friends of Amos was established in 2014 to promote activities and projects in the village of Ortonville. They are planning to do the fireworks event this year and are requesting a financial contribution from Brandon Township toward the cost of $1,000, because $1,000 is what we contributed last year.
I just have one question, because I had heard that once the school starts the wastewater treatment that they have to do, that where the fireworks were being held at weren't going to be able to be there anymore. Do we know if they can still be held there this year?
Yes.
Okay. Then I'll make that motion to contribute $1,000 from Public Relations to the Friends of Amos to help pay for the 2017 fireworks display.
I'll support.
Okay. And just so everyone knows, the fireworks are scheduled for Friday, June 23rd, with a rain date of June 25th. Is there any discussion on this?
I have a couple things. First off, who's Amos and who are his friends?
Amos Orton. Amos Orton.
Ah, okay.
And
Now my second question is to the lieutenant. What kind of overtime does fireworks cause for your department?
It doesn't cost any
He gets reserves.
Oh, okay. All right. So there's no overtime cost involved.
Never has.
Okay. All right. So for traffic, that kind of thing, it pretty much takes.
Reserves with us. And never an issue.
Great. Thanks. That's it.
That's it. Okay. Any other questions or concerns?
And Chief is all on board. Have we talked to fire department? Okay.
Okay, I have a motion by Trustee DePalma, seconded by Clerk Allen, to contribute $1,000 from Public Relations to the Friends of Amos to help pay for the 2017 fireworks display. And if there's no further discussion, roll call, please.
DePalma?
Yes.
Cordella?
Yes.
Marshall?
Yes.
Allen?
Yes.
Broughton?
Yes.
Darnall?
Yes.
Thurman?
Yes, motion carries unanimously. Okay, moving to employees to exempt status. The Parks and Recreation Director and the Senior Center Coordinator were moved from a salary status to an hourly status as of December 1st, 2016. The information requiring us to change the status of any employee receiving less than $47,500 per year to hourly was never placed into law as projected, and that was the reason we did this in the first place. According to MTA, that change is not going to take place. So we discussed this again at the Parks and Recreation Subcommittee and would like to have the board consider reverting these positions back to exempt status, meaning putting them on salary.
I had thought when I talked to a couple members from the subcommittee that they did not want to do this.
if you're talking about me, I can speak for myself.
Well, I thought
as
you
far
and
as-
Candy didn't
yeah,
want to do it, I thought.
I thought it was a good idea at the time. And I don't know. Really, I could go either way on this one. I think the director at this, just speaking of the Parks and Recreation Director, because this affects him more so, I think, than the Senior Center Coordinator. I think he's in a position to put more overtime hours in than he has been budgeted for. I know that if there's an issue down the road, the board can always move him back to hourly if it becomes an issue. But I thought we'd bring this to the board.
Well, I'd
for
like to speak
consideration.
on it. I brought it to this board at our February meeting, and it was turned down. That it wasn't not gonna happen, that it was already set in place, and we've done a lot of work on this during budget time, and it happened last December, and the coordinator, who is now from salary to hourly, is fine with the way it is.
Well, that's what I had thought, so I was surprised it was here, because we had voted on it, and when I talked to, you guys said the subcommittee wanted to bring it to us, and I'm like, but it sounded like when I talked to the subcommittee on my own that they didn't want it, so I'm just a little, why are we rehashing this for a third time?
I don't know why we're doing it again.
Yeah, I voted for it. I think we moved the Parks and Rec Director over for possible law change that didn't happen. And when you move somebody from salary to hourly, I feel it's a demoralizing move that really ended up not being necessary. And if he's more comfortable being salary, that's why I'm for it. So that's why I voted for it.
But I think there's more accountability if it's or hourly than
Could be.
salary.
I'm just telling you why I voted for it.
He never had to be moved to hourly at all. It was only the coordinator at the senior center who did not make the amount of money. The rec director was always way above that amount.
So why did we do it? That was before me, so why did we do it?
That would have to be Kathy's answer.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, we did it because the Senior Center Coordinator was getting moved, and then that would make only one salary position,
I
so.
think that it was, the electeds were the only ones that were considered salary, then everyone else was an hourly employee.
Correct, so that
Okay.
way it was consistent
It
in the
was consistent
township.
all the way across.
Well, I'm not married to my position. I was just, that's why I voted for it, so.
Okay. Would anyone like to make the suggested motion?
I'll make the motion, yeah. Obviously, I voted for it, so yes.
Okay.
But it sounds like it's not gonna go.
Would anyone like to second the motion? I'll go ahead and second the motion. We'll get it on the floor. Is there any further discussion? I have a motion by Trustee Broughton, seconded by Supervisor Thurman, to move the Parks and Recreation Director and Senior Center Coordinator back to exempt status beginning May 22nd, 2017, and to include overtime wages into their salaries and amend the wage scale accordingly.
I guess my question is, why can't the rec director and the senior coordinator work their overtime that's convenient to them? As long as they don't go over the hours permitted by the overtime line.
Why can't they? I thought they could.
That's the question I'm asking.
Well, because we have a policy where overtime needs to be approved.
Which is up to the department head.
Right.
So,
So you can approve her to work overtime when she needs to.
absolutely.
Yes.
Yes. We already know what days she'll be doing that, so.
Yep. Okay.
Any other questions or concerns? Okay, let's go ahead and do a roll call, please.
Cordella,
I'm all over the place on this one. No.
Marshall,
No.
Allen,
No.
Broughton,
Yes.
Darnall,
No.
De Palma,
No.
Thurman.
Yes. Motion fails. All right. Item E. Snail virus. Oh, I forgot to put this
Yeah,
one
item
on.
D.
Okay.
We're at
Item D. There we go.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're at D.
Thank you. Item D, we want to get to that trail resolution. Item D is the Brandon Township West Nile Virus Fund Program 2017 resolution, and we had a special meeting where we pretty much approved doing this, but didn't formalize it in a resolution. We need the resolution so that we can send that to the county in order to get reimbursed.
Do you want
So
to
I'm
tell
looking
the
for
residents what we're doing? So there's so many here who could know what we're
Sure.
doing. That way if they
The
want to get
West Nile, West Nile Virus Program is funding that the county gives us to spend on mosquito control products. So we're able to purchase mosquito repellents and also dunks, which is a mosquito larvicide, and we hand them out to the residents. So they will be available probably in another week or two at the supervisor's office. We had some left over from last year, but we've run out. So we've had people come back asking for them, and we should have more supplies coming in soon. This year we have $3,477.62 to spend, and that's all from the county. We make the purchases and we get reimbursed by the county. So it's a win-win for us. So this is item D. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the Brandon Township West Nile Virus Fund Program 2017 resolution?
Do we have to read it?
As presented.
Do we have to read the whole thing?
No.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
Support.
Don't want to read the whole thing.
I can read it if you'd like me to.
No, I'm okay with that. I read it already.
All right. Any other questions or concerns? I have a motion by Trustee DePalma, seconded by Treasurer Darnell to approve the Brandon Township West Nile Virus Fund Program 2017 resolution as being presented. And we'll do a roll call, please.
Marshall?
Yes.
Allen?
Yes.
Broughton?
Yes.
Darnell?
Yes.
DePalma?
Yes.
Cordella?
Yes.
Thurman?
Yes, motion carries unanimously. Now we can get on to item E, which is a trail resolution presented by Trustee Broughton. So I'll let you go ahead and present this, Scott.
Yeah, I think Terry offered to read it. She has a better reading voice than I do.
I told him I would read it for him. Do you want to give any background on it?
No, I think people have heard from me enough.
Okay. Whereas 6 members of the prior 2016 Board of Trustees, 5 members of the current 2017 Board of Trustees have visited various locations along the ITC corridor, and a majority of either board has indicated that they would not support the selection of the ITC corridor, known as Route C, for inclusion in the public trail system. Whereas Lieutenant Glover of the Oakland County Sheriff's Department has indicated that both he and Brandon Township Fire Chief Dave Quampas have real concerns regarding the patrol and the ability to send emergency vehicles to locations along the ITC corridor. Whereas a majority of ICT corridor remains hidden from view from law enforcement and the general public. Whereas this resolution should in no way be construed as a referendum on Brandon Township's future participation in the Iron Belt Trail project, this resolution is restricted to any further consideration for the use of the ITC corridor, also known as Route C, for inclusion in the public trail system. Now, therefore, be it resolved that in the interest of public safety, the Brandon Township Board will no longer consider the ITC corridor known as the Route C during future consideration of the public trail system in Brandon Township.
Thank you for reading.
No problem.
All right, who would like to start the discussion?
Need a motion on the table for it?
Do we need a, yeah.
No, we can discuss before motions.
Discuss
We do.
before motion.
I have a couple points that, and again, I've heard all the comments here, I've heard all the comments in previous meetings. I have several concerns. Part of it is the limited exposure to trail traffic that the majority of township residents have. Granted, it's a minority of residents that are actually directly impacted by Route C, but I think it's almost untenable imposition on those residents for the location of that route through their property, either the front yard, backyard, side yard, by their garages, wherever it might be. We have, there's a process that is allowed called eminent domain, that if there's a pressing need for the public good to obtain private property, they can go through that process in order to do it. I am balancing this based on, do I find this to be a pressing need for the public good? And I don't. I find it would be nice to have. Wouldn't it be fun? This would be great. But I don't see where this is a pressing need that we would imposition residents who live directly next to that ITC corridor. My final point is, and is in the resolution, if we have public safety personnel, administrators, that are unable to say they can provide adequate protection, adequate response time to that area, and I've been there, and I don't know how you'd respond with, if there was an injury back there. I have no idea how you get a gurney back there to take an injured party out without bouncing their teeth out or physically carrying them. There is no way to have access for public safety personnel responding to that area. And for those reasons, I am opposed to Route C.
Okay, thank you. Did anyone else have any comments before I start in?
Yeah, before we vote, in case anybody on the board isn't aware, my house does fall on the ITC corridor. Just want to make that clear, so I think everybody knew that anyways, so.
Right, we had the question of conflict of interest, and that is something, as a legal agent of the township, I researched and actually talked to our township attorney, and his opinion is that conflict of interest is usually pertaining to amount of money that would be gained by voting. So he suggested that Scott disclose where he lives, but he should be able to vote. That's how it turned out. Okay. I wanted to point out some things. How would you get a gurney on the trail? Well, I think the fire chief would be very happy to be able to have a good reason to get an ATV vehicle, because I know that's something he really wants. But just to point out, there's 126 total trails in the state of Michigan, 2,393 miles of rails to trails, and these are all railroads that have been converted to trails. And there's 25 current projects and 299 miles of potential rail trail. Let's see, for the Paint Creek Trail, which is the one that goes from Rochester to Lake Orion, there was information that I could find on that. And I have that there were 66,420 users between May and September in 2004. And the northernmost section of the Paint Creek Trail saw 24,386 users. So this is a rail to trail. let's see. So then I started looking for research on safety, because safety is what's being presented in this resolution. And a study was done on 372 trails. The research that was conducted along with incidental evidence suggests that converting an abandoned rail corridor to a trail actually tends to reduce crime by clearing up the landscape and attracting people who use the trail for recreation and transportation. And there was a study done, the effects of greenways on property values and public safety, and this was Colorado State Park State Trails Program in 1995, and that, in summary, concerns that urban trails might adversely affect public safety and property value in surrounding neighborhoods are not substantiated by the results of the study. The effect of a trail is beneficial rather than detrimental. Then there was a study, Brush Creek Trail in Santa Rosa, California. The study shows neither increased crime nor decreased property values due to trails. And then there was another study recognizing the need to address concerns, safety concerns, rails to trails conservancy, thank you, conducted a survey of all rail trail managers in an effort to document the level of crime on trails and identify the mitigation measures used by trail designers and managers. So 4 separate studies. They used the 4 studies of previous research that was conducted between 1979 and 1997, concluded that rail trails do not increase crime. And they were looking in Seattle, Minnesota, Iowa, and New York. So then they did their own study. Out of 372 trails included in the study, they found only 11 rail trails in 1995 and 10 rail trails in 1996 which had experienced any type of major crime. 3% of responding trails. These figures are very low considering the 372 trails surveyed covered nearly 7,000 miles of trail and more than 45 million estimated annual users. So it's not to say that there would not be any crime at all on the trails, but compared to crime elsewhere, it's very low. And the more rural the trails, the less crime, according to this study.
Who put that together again?
Pardon me?
Who authored that study?
Rails to Trails Conservancy.
So it sounds like a group that's all in favor of.
Has a
rails to
vested
trails.
interest.
Mm-hmm. They're a trail group, yep.
Okay.
But they're the ones
Okay.
who took the interest to do the study.
Just wanted to know.
Yep. My issue with the resolution is, I don't think that, I think the public safety issues can be addressed. I believe that this board is in favor of looking into a route going down Seymour Lake to M15. And I would not be opposed to having this board make a motion that we look at that route before looking at any of the previous routes. But I don't believe it's in our best interest to take something off the table at this point in time.
Why? If I lived next door to something like this, my main concern would be, please give me some peace.
Well, I know, but if you take everything off the table
We're not taking everything off the table. We're taking Route C, that's all.
Okay, if you take Route C off the table and then you investigate other routes and find out that they won't work out as well as Route C, then you're not gonna be coming back. And
If this
then
is
you're
the
not gonna
best
have
we
a
can
trail.
do, we can do without it.
Yeah, that was,
Kathy, as far as statistics go, all I care about is the number one. One person getting hurt, one home invasion from any of these homeowners along the trail is too much, especially when there's other options available.
Correct.
We've talked this thing to death, and I'm done with it.
Okay, so they could, okay, so
My-
here's,
My concern, just to answer Scott, we already have home invasions from people accessing through that corridor. And we have poaching, and I think Susan said she found needles back there, so there's ATV traffic. So all that is already happening.
So
and
why
if you
make it
clean it,
easier?
if you clean it up, it's not gonna happen, because if you were the type of person who took a syringe and go out and do the drug or whatever they're doing with it, they're not going to go to a place that's gonna have public, they're gonna go somewhere else. So it's actually gonna take that away. Now, I'm gonna give my opinion. I'm for trails. My biggest concern about the trail, though, is, because I'm the money person, like everybody knows, is where are we going to get the money to maintain it for insurance and for funds? I'm not saying I'm against trails for that. I'd like to figure out how we can take advantage of this grant, but we have to figure out at the same time how are we going to maintain it afterwards, and the maintenance and the insurance on it. So what I really feel like is, I feel like it's too soon to do anything, because we have never been answered about, we don't have our final numbers on anything. We don't have our final numbers because I understand that bridge. I saw the bridge, and I do think that the quotes that we were given might have been wrong, and maybe that would take Trail C off, but I want final numbers of truly what would Trail C cost, A and B and D, and maybe look at the other trail. I don't feel we're ready to make any decision until we actually have everything, and that's what we have been asking for, and we have never been given everything of, this trail would truly cost this is what the maintenance is, this is what the insurance is, this is how we're going to do it. Before we make any decision on anything, I'd like to know everything. Now, I did go and look at the residents' homes, and I do see what you guys would be dealing with. I don't want to take away anybody's property if it's on the ITC and if it goes away from their property on the other side, but at the same time, like Kathy said, if we say no to this one and then we go to this one, we're going to hurt these residents. So I think there's always going to be somebody. I want to find what's the least hurting of somebody, because it might hurt somebody more, and I think that's where we need to really study it all and get our true answers before we do anything. And that is my opinion, because we take this one away, then we go to the next one, and we're going to have another 30 people, and we go to the next one, we're going to have another 30 people. I don't know what the answer is, but I really think we need to figure it out before we do anything. That's my opinion.
Did anyone else want to make a comment?
I'd just like to get a little clarification from Ms. DePalma. I guess what you're saying is basically we should probably table this?
Well,
I mean, table it at this time.
table it means we bring it back at a later time to this meeting. Postpone, if we want to postpone, we need a date that we postpone to, or
I feel for those residents, but now we're going to have group Trail A residents coming in who aren't happy about it, and Trail D and Trail B. So there's always going to be a group, and until we get the full picture of everything, I just don't know what we should do. Besides, get the full picture and then make our decisions. Because there's always going to be somebody. People live on every single trail.
It doesn't go behind their houses.
Or beside their house. Or
Are
in the
you
front of
sure?
their
I mean,
house.
are you sure?
Yeah.
Seymour Lake will go in front of everybody's houses.
In front of houses, not behind them.
I
Or
think the other
beside
ones,
them.
it went behind some houses. Does it go behind houses on the other
Yeah.
ones?
Oh.
On the other trails?
I don't know if well, some of the other trails use part of the ITC corridor where it would,
Go behind people's houses.
or at least next to it.
As I said, I don't know what the answer is, because I think you're always going to affect somebody.
My main concern is after they're built, after the trails are put in, what is it gonna cost us to maintain?
Exactly.
That's, where's the money gonna come from? Are we gonna go for a millage? Are we gonna ask the taxpayers? You know, I need a number too. Need to know what it's gonna cost.
I'm thinking. I'm thinking.
All right, at this time, if someone wanted to make a motion, since everyone's quiet, we could probably have a motion on the table. Did you want to make a motion, Scott?
Oh,
as
I'll
your
definitely make the motion, yes.
Okay.
Support.
Okay, is there more discussion on this? We have a motion, is your motion to approve the proposed resolution?
As presented.
Let's see, approve
It will no longer.
the proposed resolution for the ITC corridor removal of consideration. That doesn't sound right.
Route C, just as written.
Yeah, be it resolved that, yeah. That's the very bottom last paragraph.
Yeah, you know, be it resolved. Read down there.
Okay.
Make the motion.
Well, usually when we have a resolution, we approve the resolution. It's not just the resolved part.
Okay.
So approve the resolution
As
to remove for consideration the ITC corridor.
Correct.
Okay, are there any other comments? Okay, I have a motion by Trustee Broughton, supported by Trustee Marshall, to approve the resolution for removal of consideration the ITC corridor. Is that good?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
All right. Are there any more comments or concerns? Okay, roll call, please.
Allen,
Yes.
Broughton,
Yes.
Darnall,
Yes.
De Palma,
No.
Cordella,
No.
Marshall,
Yes.
Thurman.
No. Motion has been approved. Resolution carries. Okay. Our last item of business, and then we will have citizens' comments again,
I'll make it short.
is the CDBG resolution.
Yep. I received an email today to have this resolution come before the board in May, so that's why it was added today. We do this every 3 years. It's in order for us to get our CDBG funding in cooperation with Oakland County. They handle the money from HUD, which is the federal dollars, and it trickles down to our community, and we're just gonna sign a resolution to remain in the program.
So I'll make that motion. I think that's a great
Second.
program.
That was easy.
All right, so I have a motion by Trustee De Palma to approve resolution, you already have it numbered?
Yep.
To approve
Cheater.
resolution 278-17 as presented, correct? And that is supported by Trustee Broughton. Did I say that already? Okay. Any further questions or discussion on this resolution?
Just for the audience sake, I just want to mention that Brandon Township receives approximately $33,000 each year, and it can be funded out to our senior center, a food bank, youth assistance, any youth services.
We've done Haven.
Our Haven. So, and the board does have a public hearing each year to award the money where it
Did you
needs to
say
go.
33,000?
Yes,
Yeah.
per year. It used to be well over 100,000 a year. But we're happy to get it. It's free money, there's no matching.
Well,
Helps a lot of people.
free money, but yes, it's a good cause.
Well, if we don't get it, someone else is gonna get the money, so we might as well get it.
I understand. Hey,
There's
I
no
second the
grants to
motion.
fill out, there's no, it cost us any money to do it other than my time.
And if we don't take it, someone else will, so we
Correct.
might as well take it, it's not like.
That
we're-
is correct.
But yes, it's getting paid for somehow through our tax dollars.
Okay. Any other discussion? All right. Again, I have a resolution by trustee DePalma, supported by trustee Broughton, to approve resolution 278-17 as presented. Roll call, please.
Broughton,
Yes.
Darnall,
Yes.
DePalma,
Yes.
Cordella,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes?
Thurman.
Yes. Motion carries unanimously. So at this point, we will take citizens' comments again.
I'm Fred Waybrandt, Director of Parks and Recreation for starting 18 years. I've been salary all this time. Why I was put in that category when you guys voted in November or wherever the case was, and not even brought in for discussion on the whole topic, I didn't even fit in that category. You guys have forgotten that we have a $409,000 DNR grant that I have to head up. We start this summer. I've already worked the overtime that you guys allow me to work, 3 hours a week. You also forgot, I work with a high school kid that comes in at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and he works to 6. I like to go out there and spend that last hour with him at the tree library. I also spend a lot of time in the park, overtime, or on the salary, and that's why the park looks the way it does. These hands, I've done blood, sweat, and tears for you guys for 18 years. You are degrading me, taking away my lifestyle. I expect supervisors to say, oh, no, you come in at 10 and leave at 8. No, I have dinner with my wife as much as I can. There's other things. I'm training somebody right now. I have to fill in for a site director for the next 3 days because he can't be there. And I got to train coaches how to operate a pitching machine. You guys are hurting yourself. I told you I will work for the same amount of money, more hours. I don't get it. I just don't get it. Why wouldn't you want to take advantage? A man like me that has dedicated many, many years here, busted his butt. I'm dirty as can be right now, and usually sometimes I'm in a suit coat and tie running that office. I have 2 part-time people. They come in at 8:30. Sometimes they have to leave early. There's only one day they work together. You guys are hurting yourselves. This needs to come back to the board. Candy, I'm surprised. You voted to support it, then you changed your mind. You know, so I will bring this back to the board. You guys are, I will jot down everything I do. You got 3 new people here. Maybe you don't know exactly just how much I do for this township. I worked with volunteers. I had a Lions Club meeting at 5:30. It had to do with Parks and Recreation. So you guys really need to think this out, because there's going to be some things that aren't going to get done unless I stick around and work. That's all there is to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to make a comment? Yes, sir.
I'd like to know, my name's Dennis Mercue. I live on Burris Court. I'm concerned that we've been out here approximately 40 years. The dirt roads are just falling to pieces. And There's need for ditches, there's need for trimming of trees. The other day I was going down Sherwood and a huge tree came down. Fire department came out to remove it. There's need for crowning of the roads. I think everybody in this room probably spends hundreds of dollars over a few years repairing cars because the roads are falling apart. So I'd like to see something done about that. The dirt roads I'm talking about.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Steve Unruh at 5933 Seymour Lake. I'm talking about a property that's north of mine that seems to be keep dumping trash, and I've gone to the township supervisor. You've been out there, and I don't know what the resolution of that. Now there's more trash being dumped out there, and at one time they dumped a hole to dump this trash. Now nobody seems to live there. There's 3 or 4 unregistered cars there, and the garage, you can't even shut the garage door. Keeps bringing in more stuff. Now, I didn't know this trail thing was going on tonight, but I'll tell you that trash, and I've had an experience in another county back in the late 90s where we had to go after somebody who had a junk. Start out, people just put a few cars there, and it got out of hand. I see the same behavior of this, and I don't know and it costs the township up there a lot of money to clear that out. So I'm asking if there's any ordinances or anything we can do to remove this, because I know that will reduce property values of anything. So.
Can I speak to you after the meeting?
Absolutely, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, I'd like to make a comment on the skate park. I honestly feel that this group of people have not done their homework on contacting other communities that have had skate parks. There's probably 30 of them I've gone to. None of them have monitors. None of them have registration. None of them have the crime that we say we have here. And they have a sign, skate at your own risk. It's open. And I really feel disappointed on one of the trustees that in the beginning, I've been on the Village Planning Commission for 40 years, and when that skate park was going to come in, we went out of our way to get a variance, to get a higher fence. Then that person came and says, no, we want a lower fence so we can keep an eye on everybody. And ever since then, she's been 90% of the complaints. And if she doesn't want the skate park there, that's fine. But you're not helping the community and those youth that want to use that, because you're just moving them someplace else. The same thing with the trail. The new people should have done some homework. There's been town hall meetings. The state has been here. The county has been here. There's information. They've got safety things from the police department, the fire department, and everybody else was involved. None of you have ever contacted another town of similar trail possibilities. You would be ashamed of what you're doing. And also, I heard this weekend from somebody that knows somebody in the state, they figured the way this is going with the village and the township, they give you 10 to 15 years before you close the door and you have a ghost town here.
Thank you.
That's the truth. That's what the state said.
Yes.
I'd like to thank the board for the resolution tonight. This has been
Could you state your name again, please?
Kevin Gibson. As I said, I moved into this community a year ago from Oxford. I lived near the trail there, and I used it. Buying out here takes away from what this community really is about. We have a downtown, we have a business strip, but we also have a lot of rural. It would be a shame to let that go to waste, because you will have people that are looking for that alternative within driving distance of their homes and work. I just want to thank all of you for the time you've put into this.
Thank you.
Andrea Austin from 1335 Kent Road. I just figured while I'm here I would bring this up because I complain about it all the time. During the election, there was a few individuals that thought it would be a good idea to put swear words on their political signs. One of the houses was right in front of a bus stop, and every single day, kindergartners got to read swear words. Every single day. It was a problem and these were printed signs. These weren't hand painted. These were printed at a print shop. And I understand there's free speech and all that, but I know that I can't go buy a billboard and put the F word on there. I know I can't do that. Well, there was one right in front of Bullfrogs, if you're looking for where it was, or that adjacent property to Bullfrogs, just north of it. And then one was my neighbor over on Kent Road, east. You can ask me later. I don't want to name names right now. Probably guess. But it sounds silly to me that we have to even talk about maybe having an ordinance so we don't put swear words on, it sounds silly to me, but here we are. This is one thing I like about Ortonville. Everywhere my kids go, there's 100 other pairs of eyes of all my friends. You're watching my kids, everybody's, we are a good family community. Wow, I love it. And then I turn around and we got a bus stop with swearing right across. It was so disappointing. And then to talk to my bus driver, because mine's the very next stop, and she's pulling her hair out. She's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I have to stop in front of this house. And it brings, when there's the rule where you can't put don't put the pizza in the oven with the plastic on it. Make sure you take the plastic off. The only reason why that rule is on the pizza is because enough people did it that they had to give you the tip not to do it. So here we are. Who would ever think we'd have to have a rule not to have swear words? And I know this is legal stuff, but here we are. We had swear words on political signs and right in front of the kids. And
but it wasn't us.
Oh, absolutely. No.
I'm sitting there looking at everybody else saying,
No, it was on.
I made a call. I made a call, and they were requested to take it down, but then the very next day it was back up again. So, I'm sorry. But I know there's a free speech thing, but I know that I can't, but part of me knows I can't go and buy a billboard and put the 4-letter F on there. So there's got to be something that can be done, maybe? I don't know. It was just so disappointing. And it wasn't going to change anybody's mind who they're going to vote for. Come on. No. Oh, now I see that word. I'm going to switch my vote. No. I just wanted to bring it to everyone's attention publicly. We got 2 years to the next cycle, 4 years, whatever, but I can't believe we even have to bring it up, but here we are today. So I just hope something can be done, or at least investigated. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. Over here, she has her hand up.
I want to thank the board for approving.
Could you state your name again, please?
Downing of Trail C. And I just want, there was a couple things that came up tonight that I went, oh my God. First of all, someone mentioned that there was a uses of 66,000 people used a trail. I can't even imagine having 66,000 people ride by my back door, behind my house. All right, well, downtown, whatever, but you use that as a reference, okay? And the other people that live around here that want a trail, I think it's great. Really, it's great to have a trail somewhere in Ortonville, but not right in people's backyards. There's other better choices for it.
Sue, could you address the board, please?
Oh.
Everyone can
Okay,
have
I
a
know,
chance
I
to
know,
speak.
I should.
Okay, thank you.
And
what was your last name, Sue?
Osterland.
Okay, thank you.
And I also wanted to say too, is everyone that wants the trail in Ortonville, it's wonderful, but also you're gonna bring in other people, not just the people from Ortonville.
That sounds very prejudiced to me.
Well, no.
Let's be quiet, please.
Well, people from other communities that aren't from our community, and we don't know these people. You know what I mean? That's what, 66,000. Wow, that's a lot.
Thank you. Excuse me, only people at the podium can speak. So just, if you'd like to come up, we'd like to, yes, sir.
I'd like to
What was
just
your
say
name
that
again?
Jason Schaeffer. I'd like to say I'm disappointed with 4 of you, and I feel that it's very short-sighted to vote this proposal down, because one reason, and Clerk Allen mentioned that you don't know where the money is going to come from to maintain it, and I haven't heard once anybody suggest that we might actually bring commerce into the town that would help our economy, which would in turn pay for the maintenance. And also, there's going to be a lot more people that are affected with any of the other route options because they're going to go right across your driveway. So there's going to be multiple times more people that are going to be complaining and coming up here to these meetings as we propose these other trail options. This was the least invasive option for people. I pull out of my driveway, my dog sits in my yard, and if there's a trail across my property, across my front yard, it's no different than if it was in my backyard. It's actually worse because now we have to worry about cars hitting people. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to make a comment? Yes, ma'am.
Sheila Jeanette. I'm also disappointed, as 2 of you brought up very obviously. You just took something off of the table that gave you probably the best option out of these 4, and now it's no longer an option for you, and you did no research to see if you should have done that.
We've done lots of research.
Thank you. Yes.
I'm also disappointed, but also, and the people might have just left, I'm more disappointed, and this happened at a township meeting recently, and it was in the paper. We're a small community. We've lived here since '74 in town, and we love this town, this village. I'm very disappointed at what I heard just a few minutes ago. These people, we don't know what people would be coming here. Just like in the article recently in the paper with regard to the recent village council meeting. We don't know what people will be coming. We could have people from Detroit coming here. Those group home people that we have right here in our community, oh my goodness. That would have been a worry if we'd have had that little 1.5 mile trail. That was a concern. Those men, they walk around town. I see them at times. I say hi to them. They have never bothered me. But you know what? That's really the sad part. And it's really showing you of our little town attitude right now. I've heard recently very positive things of what those people in Detroit have done. And I thought, you know what? They could come out here and teach us something. No, I'm disappointed, but you know what? We'll go on. But thank you for listening.
Thank you. Yep, Kara?
Of course you knew I was going to speak, right? Yeah. Kara Lavoie. I speak at a lot of these things, it seems. I want to talk briefly about ordinances. Since I missed the ordinance meeting last week, and that was my fault. I thought it was on Wednesday, not Tuesday. I don't know why. But if we're going to be writing new ordinances like curse words, which I'm not opposed to, we need to make them specific. We don't want to have, no, I'm
Sorry.
I'm not opposed to the ordinance. Let me rephrase that.
Oh, I didn't know what you were laughing about.
I'm sorry, Terry.
Not a problem.
In fact, I figured that was a, anyway, sorry to digress. We need to be specific on what our ordinances are going to say. And we also need to enforce the ones that we have. A gentleman was talking about cars, unlicensed cars. Well, if they're not in a garage, we already have an ordinance that says that they're not legal. They've got to be inside a building. Well, make sure that we don't pass any ordinances. They completely say, oh no, I'm sorry, you can't have any unlicensed cars anywhere on your premises, which includes buildings. Because we've got a lot of people that do, what is it, where they repair old cars. So they,
Restoration.
yeah, I mean, they need to have donor cars. But beyond that, just everything. Let's not grab an ordinance saying, oh, look, this ordinance looks awesome because it does this and this. Well, it could also grab 25 other things. We need to make our ordinances specific. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like, yes?
My name is Kerry Mullins. I heard some concerns today. I know that Trail C is off the table now, and so we do have to look forward to more debate about whether we do trails, which trail we do. I've heard concerns from some of the board members about how we pay to keep it up. I think that it really needs to be considered that it will be a draw, especially, like I said earlier, to a younger crowd. A younger crowd brings entrepreneurs and people that will come to our businesses, and they will put their kids in our schools, which I happen to volunteer quite often at Harvey Swanson. I know that we went from about 425 kids when my son was in school, and now we're at like 305. That's a huge drop. And I know a lot of that has to do with birth rate, but it's also a lack of draw to the community. And I think that a trail is definitely a draw. So whether or not the one that I wanted is on the table, I still want it. And I want that to be a strong consideration to bring younger crowds here. I know that's probably not a popular idea to many of the older people around that are comfortable where they are. But a community needs young people to grow and to thrive. So,
thank you. Did I?
One more thing, it's hard when you don't write this ahead of time, but you just made me think about it a little bit.
Sharon
For the
Van
old-
Dis again.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sharon Van Dis. For the older people, one senior citizen is not here tonight, and he's in his 80s. And he has been very involved with the trails and the issue of trails. Ron Sutton. He would have been here, and he is in support because he thinks more young. But he said when he goes home from these meetings anymore, it's very upsetting to him to see what is happening, and he has lived here all his life. So some of us older ones, we're all for them. Thank you.
and some of us young ones want to live here.
Okay, wait.
I'm younger than everybody else in this room.
Kevin, right?
Kevin Gibson.
Kevin Gibson, okay.
I'm also entrepreneurial. I ran my own company for 3 years. I worked for Tesla. I'm back here working for Kamau. I don't know what you think you're bringing in with a trail. It's a big, tall order. It takes money to get into this neighborhood.
Kevin, you're going to be speaking to us. All right, thank you. Okay, anyone else? Yes, we haven't heard from you yet.
I
wish I would have spoke up a little
He's
earlier.
been saving up.
We lived in
And
Auburn
what
Hills.
is your name?
I'm Joel Haynes.
Joel Haynes, okay.
We lived in Auburn Hills, and we had a railroad bed that was abandoned, and there was a lot of things that took place, you know, people finding needles, hunting, things like that. The Clinton River Trail came in, we put that in, and things only improved. So it was much better. My wife and I went for runs all the time. It brought a lot of people in the community out to get exercise and things like that. I'm really disappointed in the board. I feel like you guys have not done your homework. I feel this was struck down without looking at the other routes and how those are going to affect people. And I feel you're gonna have a much bigger crowd here when people are having a trail across their front yard. Everyone in here that complained, I feel, is only thinking about themselves. including you, Scott. I feel like the trail system would be a great thing for Brandon Township. I feel like you have 19 people here. There was one that didn't want a trail system. The rest of them, they're thinking about themselves. How it's going to affect them, not the community. That's it.
Is there anyone else that would like to make a comment? Okay, we can move on. Now we have time for the board to make comments. I just wanted to comment that that suggestion about swear words on signs. I'll take that to the building department and we'll see if it's legal, number one, for us to limit free speech on signs. And if so, we can look at putting something in our ordinance.
Yeah, because I did mention it to you back when, and I know then we got into, the election ended and we got into the whole
It was like a
getting the new
legitimate
board,
sign, or
but there
somebody added
was
something
two
onto
signs. No,
it?
there was two signs that were legitimately.
Really?
I saw them and I have.
Heard about it.
My kids,
They
my
were
kids aren't.
presidential, weren't they?
They were presidential. My
Yes.
kids weren't on that bus, but my kids heard it from other kids who were on that
Yeah,
bus.
I saw
So
a sign.
I did mention it to Kathy,
Right.
but then we got into the election was over
Right.
and getting the new
And
board
it
going, and we were
Couldn't
gonna.
have done anything in time for
Right,
that
we
particular
couldn't,
sign.
right.
Right, but we can look forward to it going forward. I forgot something in my report. I just wanted to verbally out there thank the Clinton Watershed. They had come out to, once we signed up to work with them, I found out they do assemblies for schools, and they came out to Oakwood and did a really good assembly for Oakwood Elementary. So I just wanted to verbally, publicly thank the Clinton Watershed.
Did anyone else have a comment?
I have a comment concerning Mr. Waybrandt, and I was hoping he'd stay to hear me. I have nothing whatsoever against him. I know he's a hard worker. I worked with him for 19 years, or 17 years, sorry, and he's very dedicated to this township. But the fact is that I don't think changing him from hourly to salary is going to stop him from working. Right now, he's being told that he can only work 3 hours overtime. To me, that's ridiculous. I'm trying to bring it to this board that when it's a nice sunny day and he can be at the park, he should be out at the park on overtime. If it's a weekend and he can be out there, that's where he should be. Not limit him to 3 hours per week.
He's not limited 3 hours per week. That's his average.
Well,
That's what
he
he
believes
thinks.
that he can only have 3 hours per week.
That's not what's been happening if you look at his timesheets.
Well, I think that's what he's upset about, is he feels he can only do the 3 hours. He said that tonight,
Right.
and he needs to be
He was confused.
cleared with it. And yeah, I do think he's confused.
Well, and that's where I do too. I appreciate Fred and everything he's done. I think he's a hard worker. I think it was a hard situation we were put in because we had to move the senior center coordinator, and they're both kind of like, yes, he's the Parks and Recs, and she's the senior center, and they're kind of both the same. And we felt if we move one, we have to move the other. It was nothing against him. He still can work as much as he wants within the budget, which would be enough. And if he has to do more because of the grant, come to us, and I'm sure we will find a way because we have to be able to get the grant and the ball fields out there, and that's a great thing. So it was nothing personal against Fred. It was the situation we were put in by the change of the overtime labor laws and the salary labor laws. So, and I just think it's so confusing to go back now. We're in the middle of a year, so maybe we can revisit it next year, or maybe we keep it, but I don't want to limit what he can do.
And right now, I feel he is
And I do
limited.
appreciate what he does.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I have one thing to say. For the people that wanted to see trail, I understand your disappointment with something you really wanted, you could see a value in. We haven't ruled out other trails. It was just that particular trail. And a couple people made the assertion that the board didn't do their research. I want to assure you that is not the case. I was not on this board prior to November, or when did we start? December 16th, I think was the first meeting?
Yes.
Yeah. Prior to that, in November, I was out looking at sites. So to think that we haven't been doing our research is a little unfounded. I understand your disappointment. But we haven't ruled out the trails altogether.
Are there any board members that would like to make a comment? Okay, then we can entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Support.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, meeting's adjourned.